if you look at this, we've got 2 roses and the portrait, so it's exactly the same rose. I've just made it a little bit smaller and I've just turned it to the right in the design. So same principle as before. I basically just saddled the image straight onto application tape, and I'm going to find the shape where this rose fits, which is pretty much on the curve. It may not match 100% because it was a second drawing, so but it'll be there or thereabouts. Same principle before. We need to block out everything, including the rose that we've already done. Make sure we got the opacity that we want. I think that will do it. Okay, so I've just cut this first petal out here and this first petal out here, so we're going to do some drop shadows under here and there. The edge, so I'm just going to put this shield here as well, so I didn't quite line it up correctly, and I'm just going to do the drop shadow just to start me off, and then I can come in and do that little curl in the corner there and on the outer edge. I'm going to put a little bit of texture in the middle because it is in the shadow. Okay, and then on this bottom one we'll just run the line it is heading out, so I'm going to do a couple of little drops like that, and that's enough for that one really. This one will be casting a shadow over this one, so I will be hitting along this edge. And we can start work on this. We can put some texture in, just some light texture to begin with. Like we did the last time on the last rose, just to add a little bit of flavour. And then we want to catch this edge so it looks rounded like we did last time, and then from the point just push up, and another one there and another one there, just hit the corner and push up. And then we've got some coming in here. It gets a bit brighter in that corner. There is a little bit of a drop shadow in the middle, and that's it, job done. So if we pop this one back and just drop shadow that, or darken that area, and then what we want to do in this area is put the little bit of rose on that we had, which is there, and then take this one out. I'm just going to run that line to save me keep. I don't normally cut on the board, but okay. We've got our big petal down here, so we can put that back in situ to protect that, and then we can go up that side. Just stick my thumb there just to make sure I can go up the top, and then Put a bit of texture under. And if you remember in the last one we blurred this edge and then we come around. But there will be a drop shadow on this side because we've got that rose hanging over, if you know what I mean. So we'll sense check it, make sure we're okay, looks okay. Let's take this one out now and then we can do a drop shadow in there. There is underneath that lip, there's a drop shadow. And because it's behind this rose, I want that one to stand proud. We can now take that one out and give that a little bit of a drop shadow over the top and where it meets the other rose. Okay, and then we can take that one out. Right, so I'm just going to populate that one there. Bring it down a bit. Bring it to that. Okay. And then there's a middle section in there. First of all, you can just do a little V there and just block off that little V there, and then I'm going to just go around the inside of that, like that. Then I can take this one out. Block that in just a little, like that. Take the middle one out, and then we'll need to round that off a little, just at the top there. So I'm going to have to go in very close and just round the top off, and then put a little black thing in the middle. And then we'll take off that final flip or lip and just touch the edge of it like that. And then along each edge. There we go. There will be some white marks, but it's not too bad. We've got a few white marks we've got to deal with. But there's our 2 roses. Pull that in. Nice. So I'll deal with this white mark in here first. So I'm going to cover the existing petal, and all I'm going to do is go up very close and local. Okay, actually let's get rid of that white dot first. There we go, we've got rid of that white dot. I want you to be able to see, so I'm just going to go in, and without going over the other petal, we can block it out. This is not the perfect shield because it's a little bit too big. But I'm just going to run a little drop shadow in there to lose that white line. Okay, and then turn it over in the corner. keeping it very local though. And then we'll just join it up with that. Here we're in darkness anyway, so we can just probably come in freehand and get rid of that white line. And the same here. There we're on almost like an external point, so we have to shield that one. And we'll just shield that little corner there. There we go. Drop shadow, this one's over this, so that's fine. So we can just come in with a shield and just drop shadow that. Round it off a little, like that, and then this one's in drop shadow as well, so we can just drop shadow over that, and there we go. Okay, so we are now on to the final stage. We're now going to be doing the gel, which we're going to add on top of our roses. So the principle's the same. We're basically locked down the image, and we're going to put the sorrel underneath. Hopefully it won't move too much. And we'll start mapping out our portrait, but this time we're going sorrel directly onto the board rather than onto application tape. The reason I'm doing that is because we're going to use erasing techniques for the hair and for the skin pores and the makeup and everything like that. So we're going to be using erasing off of the board rather than using an application tape, cutting a bit out and then, you know, shading that bit. We don't want it to look blocky. We want it to look semi-realistic, put it that way. So I'll start mapping this out. There's our map. Hopefully we've got most of the details in there. So we're pretty much ready to go. We can push some of the sorrel back where we see it a little bit too heavy in areas. You know, if you see too much red, just push it back a little because we don't want that red to show through. In the darker areas it's not so bad, but you know, in softer areas we definitely need to push it back a bit, and then we can begin very carefully and just build it up. Well, I'm in very close. Watch for skating when you're in this close. We'll just fill in those nostril bits. Going to clean up around the nose before I move up. So even though we just painted that, we can go in and tidy up some areas. So, and then we'll do the other one. Got a bit of a skate there, but the key to this portrait is actually making everything look soft. So I'm just going to bring in the darker part of the eye. The bit underneath her eye is really a shadow, so okay, so now we can come in. So you can just start blending in the shadow underneath, very lightly, just build up. You can even use a bit of a shield or a straight edge if you want to use a shield or a straight edge, just to bring that in. Now what I have got is little wires, and I'm just going to start bringing in the eyebrows. So what I'm actually doing with the eyebrow side of it, I'm actually doing a dot through. So I'm actually painting a standard dot, but I'm using the wires to split that dot. So if you look, I'll just do a standard dot and it will split that up into separate hairs. So just dot it. I'll see if I can do it without my hand in the way. So dot, allow the wires to split. Doesn't matter whether you overshoot the shape of the eyebrow, because we can always bring that back with some erasing. So what we're after though is those individual hairs. Split your wires apart, but don't go up and down, because if you go up and down, that's going to make your eyelashes too long. So we're staying within, if we can, within the shape of the eyebrow. But as you can see, I'm not too bad at the moment. I'm within the eyebrow. All we want is really some texture in there. and then we'll go over the shape with a mist. Just get those first initial ones in. And now what I'll do is I'll start coming in to the actual shape. And then we got the darker hairs, you see. And we can clean up if we need to. So that's got a bit of a shape to it. Up top it's a little bit cleaner. So we can bring that in and just shape that eyebrow. Got a little bit of a white dot in my nostril. Just want to get rid of. There we go. Okay, so let's start bringing in some of the shadow. That runs from the top of the eye. I'm going to build it up very gradually and then it curves out. So you want to keep this distance. I'm about 3 inches away and I'm just shading ever so lightly. We've got a bit of a curve, so I'm just going to create, using a shield, just that little curve there. Just so I know where it's going. Eyebrow, just up to that line. Don't want to go too dark there. Get that shadow in there. Follow it right over. That's the darker one, it gets pretty dark in that corner. Now we can come in and darken up the top a little bit more. And then we can just shade into that corner, but not as heavy as the main shadow that's up there. I want to keep that fairly soft. Okay, what I'm going to do is just use the shield again. You can use a piece of paper, it doesn't have to be a shield, but I'm just using it for ease really. I'm just going to run a line just shaded this edge here. Show the outline of the eye. Just going to bring that up a little straighter. And there's a bit of darkness in here. And then we use the shield again. Just to do the cheek. Bring the cheek straight down. So it's actually starting to frame the face a little. We can come in with that shape there and just start to form the hair that comes down that side. It comes around in a bit of a swoop, this hair, so we can bring in this shield here. We can just cut out a piece of paper to like a curve, and you can use a piece of paper. It doesn't necessarily have to be a shield. So with the glass fibre pen now, I'm just going to start erasing the hair out. It comes down. And goes around. We will obviously come back and do the hair, but I just wanted to frame that face. It's a little bit dark of shading under the eye. My value's out ever so slightly, so I can just dust over it now. That wants to be a bit sharper coming in here as well. It's nice because it's got the curve at the top as well, which actually goes with the jaw quite well, or the cheek I should say. Watch for your circles if you have got a shield like this. And then air dry that. Now we can start to use the bottom end of the shield to just turn that corner. And then it comes completely round the corner. So I'm going to use the opposite way just to bring in the bottom of that jawline. There we go. Which will blend in the background afterwards anyway. So darken up the eyebrows a little more. Just mottle them a little. Okay, so let's start on the nose that leads into the right eye. So I'm just going to tidy up that bit of the nose there. A little bit of overspray. And we can kind of, from the nostril, just start working our way out. So take your time, let it build. This goes right up to that corner, so we're going to allow that to build very slowly. Keep this, if we can, quite smooth. So what we'll do is we'll bring in the bottom of the nose first. As you can see, I've just done that little shadow there, and then I'm going to have to kind of creep it back out again, because it kind of curves in, then goes out again. And then goes to a point and curves over the point. So just using the different shapes on the shield just to achieve that curve over the top. There we go. And then this comes down almost to a point. We'll have to neaten this up because there is a bit of a shadow underneath. That goes up into the middle. It almost wants to come round to that kink in the lip. So I'm just going to go in and mottle a little bit in there. That's it. Just mottle it a little. Then we got a nice little shadow. May not have one that matches, but that's probably a little bit too thick. So let's try that one. It can start me off. Right. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a shadow underneath the nostril. around it. It's quite dark. Just so it blurs the edge a little. And that line up just to get rid of that red. There we go. That little bit of a curve comes around a little bit more. Start it a little bit by a little bit, and I'm just going to dust. I don't want a huge amount of shading there. Yeah, so I want to come a little lower. So that's why I dusted it rather than going heavy. So it's just a little mist, and then I can come in and I can freehand down to that line. Get that curve in, and then as it goes over it kind of disappears a bit. So I'm just going to come in just a little mist, don't want it heavy, and then it creeps up from there upwards. Again, just a little bit of a mist, and then we want to use freehand more than anything. So from the nostril we'll just come out of our dark area and just push up. That's it. There's a little bit of a mist coming down on top of the nose. And I'm just coming out of the nostril on the right. Okay. Just putting some lines in the top of the eye that I can see. So I'm just creeping up from this dark shadow upwards. I'm just bringing up that corner of the nose a little bit higher. The shadow underneath the nose, just a little bit higher. And then what we want to do is come in with a little bit of highlight over there. That's it. Just use my shield just to get that back in. Keep that darkness in there. I think that needs to go up a little higher. Doesn't matter if you go into the nostril a little bit, we're just going to mottle that a bit more.
and then come back into a nostril. Just mist it out again. Just mist over it. There we go. I think we're getting there on that side of things. It's going to be darker in that crease area here, so we can push up a little bit from there. And round that curve, we just want to push that up ever so slightly around that curve. That's it. There is a little bit of a lump on her nose up the top here. We're going to use the glass fibre now to really bring out this highlight here along this edge before I put in the eyelashes. It's almost like it's makeup. Almost kind of scratch it out. Bring that highlight out a bit more. It's almost like a little arc in the nose there. There is almost a centre line to it as well. Just a little indication. Okay, that shadow does continue down a bit, so we're going to come down from the nostril, the dark shadow under the nostril here. You just start leading out and following the contour of the lips down. Creates a little bit of a V. Down the side of the lips. And we got this dark shadow that follows the jawline. So we can start eating into that now using the darkness that we've got behind. So we can start bringing in this darker shadow along that jawline. Try and keep it very smooth, one continuous movement rather than bit, because it will show in the smoothness of the face. So we want to keep that, build up the shadow. watch where your line is, where on your mapping. That's kind of where we want it. And try and aim to smooth it out. Then we just backfill. You can use, if you want, some skin pores. This one here I'm talking about. This will give you a little bit of a skin pores, but be very light. So it just builds up. And just build it up gradually. There's a little bit of a skin pores in there now. So you just start building up that shadow. There's a little bit of a skin pores in this area here. I'm just going to put a little bit in there. Okay, we're kind of getting down now to the lips. So I'm going to do the darker shadow underneath the lips first. Right, so I'm trying to keep it as smooth as possible. Once I've locked the airbrush in to like where I want the trigger and it's delivering a certain amount of paint, I will hold my finger as still as possible. So I can move it around then, and I know I'm not going to get any more paint. So now we can start to build up. We can go a little bit darker underneath. Just along that area. So let's start building up. In fact, what we'll do the teeth first. Okay, well, outline the teeth anyway. So I'm just going to use just to block in the black underneath the teeth first. Okay, that gives me my line. And then what I can do then is I can just come in very close to the shape of the lip. If you need a shield for this, use a shield. Okay, so you can come in, and as long as you stick to the shape and you don't step outside the map, then we can use a shield. Shields are quite handy, but they can look too stenciled, so you have to use them sparingly if you want your artwork to look more realistic. then you want to stay away from shield work as much as possible, really. You got your map to work to, and you can erase to tidy up. And again, too much erasing can also lead to it looking too stenciled. But we can start on this bottom lip now. All I'm going to do is put a light shade over it first. So all I've done is used a curved piece of paper and just bounced off of the piece of paper. You can see where I've hit the paper there, just to put some lines in on this bottom lip, and then I've misted the top lip in now. I'll do the same. In fact, what I'll do first and foremost is I will erase the teeth out now, and bring that back to pure white again, before I start dealing with that top lip. So we want to get these teeth nice and clean, just using a glass fibre. That's one. Leave a little bit of a gap to the second tooth. They're going to be slightly out of shape because you can't get the right shape with a glass fibre, but at least I know where they are. So if we start misting too much, we'll lose where we are with our teeth. So just blow that off. And then bring in this. So you can start to see now. I now come in and just black out the bottom again. I've still got to come in with the actual shape of the teeth, but you know, now we can actually see the teeth. I'm going to be shooting above it now, so I'm just going to go above the teeth and make that a little darker. It's quite dark around the teeth. It's quite dark in this corner. We can now use our bit of paper again to start creating some lines. So you can see, look, I've just created one little line. It doesn't have to match the reference 100%. Just make sure they're curving in the right directions. Okay, so now we just have to work out the height of a darker area. I haven't got a map for this bit, but hopefully you guys have mapped this area. Okay, so I'm just going to put some extra lines, faint, like not as dark lines on the right hand side, but faint lines, using our piece of paper again. A couple of little dots here and there as well, and then I'm also going to come round following the contour of the lip just to darken up that edge.